The city moved beneath him like a living machine, endless, electric, brutal. From the 68th floor of the tower on West 57th Street, Nicholas Brady stood against the glass, sipping a single malt scotch that cost more than most people's rent. New York pulsed below in slow motion, a storm of ambition and failure. But none of that touched Nicholas. Not today. He had just made $20 million. The markets had twitched just the way he predicted. Bitcoin futures surged past the $200,000 mark before plummeting like a stone. He'd gone in heavy, hedged the downside, leveraged everything with exquisite timing. He clicked out of the terminal as his assistant Linda stepped into the office, her expression neutral. "Congrats, Nick," she said, placing a folder on his desk. "The numbers are confirmed. It's done." Nicholas didn't reply. He was too busy watching the red flicker of the market tickers, the sharp angles of his portfolio in motion. The numbers now meant nothing. They were already his. "Dinner tonight?" he said finally, eyes still on the screen. Linda tilted her head. "Celebrating?" "No," he replied. "Recruiting." She gave him a thin smile and left without another word. That was their relationship. Clinical, efficient, silent, just the way he liked it. By noon, 3 congratulatory emails had come in from men who wouldn't have returned his calls last year. His ex-wife Laura sent a one-word message. Impressive. His broker invited him to the Hamptons. His colleague Jeremy stopped by his office, grinning like a man who just won at roulette. "You're a legend, man. I don't know how you called it, but damn." Nicholas didn't smile. "I just listened to the market." Jeremy laughed and grabbed one of the Cuban cigars from the crystal box on the desk. "You didn't just listen. You took the biggest risk I've ever seen. You staked your name on it." "Names are cheap," Nicholas said. "Outcomes are expensive." By 5 o'clock, he had turned down an interview with CNBC, ignored 3 calls from Laura, and shut off notifications from every app on his phone. Outside the windows, dusk painted Manhattan in molten gold. He allowed himself one indulgence, a silent toast to the memory of his father, a failed contractor who died drowning in credit card debt. Nicholas had always sworn he would never die poor. Not like that. Then he opened the private message from Matt. "Need to talk. Urgent. Don't wait until morning." His heart slowed just a beat. Matt, his analyst, his right hand, was not a man prone to panic. Nicholas typed back a quick reply. "Call." The reply was instant. "Can't. Not secure. Check your wallet." Nicholas opened the app connected to his digital assets. The screen flashed. Balance, 0. He blinked. Refreshed. Still 0. He sat down slowly, the air in the room turning to glass. He checked his cold wallet. Then the smart contract logs. Gone. Everything. 20 million. Disappeared in a second. His phone rang. Unknown number. He picked up. "Mr. Brady," a voice said, smooth and cold. "This is your margin call." He said nothing. The line clicked off. He stood up too fast, knocking the crystal glass to the floor. It shattered against the hardwood like a warning bell. Outside, the city kept moving. Nicholas didn't sleep that night. He sat in the corner of his once luxurious apartment, back pressed against the glass, staring at the skyline like it might give him answers. The hum of the refrigerator sounded like a countdown. Manhattan, his kingdom for over a decade, looked colder now, smaller. By morning, his accounts were frozen. Every single one. The email from his brokerage arrived at 6:03 a.m., sharp. Subject, account termination, immediate polite, efficient, ruthless. He scrolled past the legalese until his eyes found the line that mattered. Due to high-risk exposure and client breach of internal leverage policy, we are forced to liquidate all remaining assets to cover losses. We reserve the right to pursue legal options. His hands trembled. Not from fear, but from rage. How? He called Matt. No answer. Called again. Voicemail. He paced his apartment, trying to rebuild the past 24 hours. Matt had been working with him for 3 years. Quiet, brilliant, obsessive. He knew Nicholas's strategies better than anyone, knew every password, every vulnerability. At 7:15, Nicholas opened the encrypted backup Matt had shared months ago as a failsafe. It had been modified, hours ago, from a foreign IP address. Nicholas's worst fear bloomed in full color. Betrayal. He grabbed his coat and left the apartment. Outside, New York was just waking up. Delivery trucks rumbling, morning runners dodging taxis, the sharp scent of roasted coffee drifting from carts. To them, it was just another Tuesday. To Nicholas Brady, it was the first day of the end. By 10 o'clock, he was in a meeting with his last remaining contact, Jeremy. Slick suit, smug grin, no loyalty. "You're bleeding out," Jeremy said without looking up from his phone. "And you want me to do what? Help? Throw you a line?" "I need time," Nicholas said. 72 hours. Just until I figure out what Matt did." Jeremy finally looked at him. "You don't get it. They're not waiting. Your name is already poison. The exchanges are pulling records. You shorted their future, now yours is gone." Nicholas clenched his fists. "You knew." "I suspected," Jeremy said, shrugging. "That's why I pulled out last week." "Matt worked for me." "Matt worked for himself," Jeremy interrupted. "Same as you." Nicholas stood, barely holding back the fury. "I'm not finished." "You are," Jeremy said, slipping his phone into his pocket. "Only question now is whether you want to vanish quietly or go out loud." Outside, the sky had darkened. A storm was moving in. Nicholas walked for hours, Midtown, Soho, Lower East Side. His legs moved on instinct, his thoughts clouded in a storm of humiliation. By evening, he had visited 2 banks. Both shut him out. His condo? Locked by property management. His car? Repossessed. He had less than $200 in his pocket. No friends, no leverage, no home. His last call that night was to Laura. She picked up after 3 rings. "Nick?" "I need help," he said. "Just for a few days." Silence. "How bad is it?" she asked. "Everything's gone." More silence. Then, softly, "I told you this game would eat you alive." "Just a loan," he said. "Enough to eat, sleep somewhere." She sighed. "Nick, I can't." "You can. You just won't." "You're right," she said, and hung up. The line went dead. Nicholas stared at the dark screen. A man who once moved millions in a breath, now begging for a couch to sleep on. He didn't cry. He didn't scream. He just sat on a bench in Union Square, watching the lights of the city flicker on, one by one. At midnight, he downloaded an app, signed up with a burner email. Courier registration, confirmed. "Welcome to Swift Drop. Your shift begins at 7 a.m. He stared at the screen for a long time. The avatar of a man carrying packages glowed in the dark. Nicholas Brady, once a titan of the digital trading world, now just another set of legs in a delivery network. He turned off the phone and laid down on the bench. The wind bit into his coat. A rat scurried across the pavement. Someone nearby coughed, a deep, wet sound that spoke of illness or addiction. Nicholas closed his eyes. He had hit the bottom. But the strange thing was, it didn't feel like the end. It felt like the beginning of something else entirely. At 6:45 the next morning, Nicholas stood in front of a bodega in Queens, clutching a faded Swift Drop delivery jacket that smelled faintly of fried onions and bleach. The collar scratched at his neck. The app on his cheap loaner phone buzzed with a message. "New delivery request. Accept within 20 seconds. He tapped accept before he could think. Pickup. Mama Luca's Pizza, 82nd Street. Drop-off, 1947. Briggs Avenue, Bronx. Estimated delivery time, 47 minutes. Payment, $15.60. Nicholas stared at the route. 2 trains, a bus, and a 15-minute walk. All for $15. He adjusted the delivery bag on his shoulder and started moving. The city looked different now, meaner, more honest. Gone were the chauffeured cars, the private elevators, the subtle nods of respect. Now there were subway rats, cracked sneakers, and stale air thick with forgotten ambition. The restaurant owner didn't look up when Nicholas arrived. "Order 402, name's Kayla," she said, sliding 2 pizza boxes onto the counter. "Careful, it's hot." Nicholas took the boxes and walked out. No greeting, no acknowledgement. He was invisible. On the D train, the pizza smelled too good. His stomach twisted with hunger. He hadn't eaten since the previous morning. Across from him, a teenager with a baby in her lap stared at him with eyes too tired for her age. Nicholas looked away. At the Bronx stop, the neighborhood was unfamiliar. Paint peeled from window frames. Graffiti screamed across brick walls. Music blasted from a 4th-story window. He rang the buzzer for apartment 3A. Nothing. Rang again. After a long pause, a voice crackled through the speaker. "Who is it?" "Swift drop delivery. Pizza for Kayla." The door clicked open. He climbed the stairs, legs burning. When he knocked, a young woman opened the door. Late 20s, one eye bruised, baby on her hip. "You're fast," she muttered. "Wasn't expecting you for another 10. Nicholas handed over the boxes. Her fingers brushed his. She paused, studying his face. "You used to be someone," she said quietly. "Didn't you?" The words hit like a slap. He didn't answer, just turned and walked down the stairs. By noon, he'd done 4 more deliveries. 2 coffees and bagels in Flatbush, an Amazon parcel in Astoria, a takeout bag in Chinatown, and 1 envelope marked legal documents to a luxury condo in Midtown. At that last stop, the concierge refused to let him up. "You can't go past the lobby," the man said. "Just leave it." Nicholas looked past him at the high ceilings and polished marble, so similar to the buildings he used to walk into daily. He left the envelope on the desk without a word. When he stepped outside, rain began to fall. Thin, cold needles of it. He pulled the jacket tighter and ducked under a deli awning. His phone buzzed. A message. Unknown number. "Saw your name on a delivery. Damn, Nick. What the hell happened?" Jeremy. He stared at the message for a moment, then deleted it. The rain picked up. A siren wailed in the distance. He sat on a crate and watched water run in dirty rivers toward the gutter. For the first time in years, no one wanted anything from him. No one asked for forecasts, advice, investments, strategies. He was just a guy with a bag, a body in motion. And strangely, in that motion, there was clarity. That evening, he checked his earnings. Daily. Total, $92.70. Tips, $8.100. Miles. Walked, 16.3. His legs were jelly. His back ached, but he had money in his pocket, real physical cash. He found a 24-hour diner, ordered a grilled cheese and black coffee, and sat near the window. At the table next to him, a man was talking into a headset, running numbers. Fast, confident. The way Nicholas used to talk. He closed his eyes and listened. The voice rattled off tickers. ETH, Sol, AVAX, UST. No, forget Doge, it's dead. The man paused. "Hold on. Got someone looking at me weird." Nicholas looked away. The man lowered his voice. "Yeah, just some delivery guy." Nicholas opened his eyes and stared into his coffee. That's all he was now. Some delivery guy. But he still had his mind, still had his instincts. And now, he had nothing to lose. 2 weeks passed. Nicholas became a ghost in the city. One of the thousands who slipped between train cars, crossed intersections on foot, dodged yellow cabs and delivery trucks under blinking signs. He worked 10, 12, sometimes 15 hours a day. The pain in his knees became familiar. His shoulders ached constantly. His phone was cheap and cracked, and the Swift Drop app glitched every few hours. But he survived. He ate when he could, slept where he could. Cheap hostels, occasional couches, one night on a roof in Queens. He stopped checking the news. He didn't open his trading feeds. The old Nicholas, arrogant, sharp-suited, unstoppable, was gone. What replaced him wasn't just desperate. He was watching, calculating, changing. He noticed something strange. There were others like him, not just couriers, but people who moved differently, former professionals. Not washed-up junkies or drifters, but men and women who walked with quiet confidence, who looked over their shoulders at every intersection, who counted exits in cafes without realizing it. That's how he met Noah. It was past midnight. Rain again. Nicholas was waiting outside a falafel shop in Harlem, the delivery delayed, when a black Prius pulled up. The driver jumped out, 40-something, tall, muscular, shaved head, eyes that had seen too much. "You waiting on Habibis?" the man asked. Nicholas nodded. "They're always slow," the man said, lighting a cigarette. "You new?" "Couple weeks." The man exhaled. "I'm Noah." "Nicholas." They shook hands. It wasn't a delivery handshake. It was something else. Recognition. They stood in silence until Noah said, "What were you before?" Nicholas didn't hesitate. "A trader." Noah raised an eyebrow. "Crypto?" "Mostly. Hedge fund before that." "Figures. You walk like someone used to elevators." Nicholas smirked. "What about you?" "Divorce lawyer," Noah said. "Downtown. Big name once." He shrugged. "Now I drive." Nicholas nodded slowly. How long? Year and change. Long enough to learn most people don't want to be found. The falafel came. They each took their orders and split. But the next night they met again. This time in Crown Heights. Then again in Williamsburg. A pattern formed. And then came Jade. She was delivering medical supplies out of a battered blue backpack. Epinephrine pens, insulin, a refrigerated blood sample box once. She wore a hoodie even in the heat, sunglasses at night, and never stayed anywhere more than 5 minutes. Nicholas bumped into her outside a walk-up in Bedford-Stuyvesant. She saw the worn Swift-drop bag on his shoulder and asked, "How long you been ghosting?" He blinked. Ghosting? Off-grid, invisible, getting paid in scraps to hide from something bigger. I didn't think I was hiding. Jade tilted her head. Then you haven't looked behind you. Later that night, they all sat in a 24-hour laundromat in silence, each pretending they weren't waiting to talk. Eventually, Nicholas spoke. Matt stole from me. Millions. Set me up. Noah nodded. That tracks. Jade didn't flinch. You still got logins? I lost everything. Nothing's ever really lost, she said. They looked at her. I used to be a cyber auditor for a pharmaceutical company, she said, not quite proudly. Got too curious. Found things I shouldn't have. Lawyers came, then collectors, then silence. Nicholas leaned forward. You know how to trace blockchain moves? Better, she said. I know how to unmask wallets that think they're clean. For the first time in weeks, Nicholas felt something crackle in his chest. Not hope, not yet, but possibility. They began meeting once a week. Noah had a storage unit in Brooklyn he used as a base between shifts. Nicholas brought what little data he'd salvaged. Old email threads, backup codes, even half-synced password logs. Jade brought a laptop so battered it looked like a relic from another century. But it ran cold and quiet, never touched Wi-Fi, only Ethernet. They pieced together a rough timeline. Matt had started siphoning off fractions of coin during arbitrage trades. Percentages so small they vanished under the noise. A half Satoshi here, a phantom transaction there. But over 18 months it added up. He hadn't just taken Nicholas's money. He'd rewritten entire transaction histories to hide the paths. Only someone who understood Nicholas's logic, his blind spots, could have done it. Jade narrowed it down to 3 wallets. One had made transfers to an overseas exchange registered under a shell company in Belize. The exchange name made Nicholas flinch. It was the same exchange he'd helped launch 5 years ago. I know who he's using, Nicholas muttered. He's laundering it through a firm I set up to test offshore volatility, meant for simulations, not this. Noah leaned forward. So you've got leverage. Nicholas exhaled. I've got a signature chain, but it won't hold up in court. We're not going to court, Jade said. We're just going to follow the money. At dawn, Nicholas walked back to his current hostel in silence. The sky was a dull bruise. A garbage truck clanged down the street. He passed a man passed out on cardboard, then a banker in running gear with AirPods in. 2 New Yorks, always side by side. He realized he didn't miss the penthouse, or the car, or the fake smiles. He missed being sharp, being dangerous, being 10 moves ahead. And now, finally, he wasn't just surviving. He was hunting. It started with a name. Jade decrypted metadata on one of Matt's transfers and traced it to a contact alias, Vance Petros. Nicholas froze when he saw it. Vance Petros isn't real, he said. We use that name as a placeholder when testing onboarding flows. Then someone brought the ghost to life, Jade replied, and they used it to receive over $3 million last month. Noah leaned back in his folding chair inside the dim Brooklyn storage unit they now called the office. Around them, the hum of an old refrigerator mixed with the distant clatter of traffic on the expressway. You think Matt sold access? Noah asked. Nicholas shook his head. Matt never cared about money. He cared about being smarter than everyone else. He's not laundering for cash, he's proving a point. Jade turned her screen toward them. This wallet connects to another chain through a secondary router, bounced through 5 countries. But here's the kicker. He's still active. You can see him? Nicholas asked. I can see the bot he uses. It checks exchange liquidity every 15 minutes. And one of the exchanges is domestic, in Manhattan. Nicholas felt the adrenaline spike. That's our way in. Jade nodded slowly. But if we go near it, he'll know. These bots are paranoid. Noah stood and stretched. So we don't follow the bot. We draw it out. 2 days later, Nicholas picked up a delivery route that wasn't on SwiftDrop's official roster. It had been passed to him through a chain of contacts Noah found in his underground gig network. Guys who worked off-ledger, using dummy accounts, cash-only jobs, and encrypted task boards. These were the couriers who didn't just carry food. They carried secrets, cash packets, pills, flash drives. Nicholas carried a box labeled computer parts to a location in Midtown, an office floor in a building he hadn't stepped foot in since his fall. When the elevator opened, he was hit with déjà vu. Frosted glass walls, recessed lighting, quiet hums of machines and men in tailored suits. He walked past a receptionist who didn't even look up, delivered the box to a man behind a smoked glass door who signed the fake name without blinking. Nicholas recognized him immediately. Logan Worth, ex-portfolio manager, fired 2 years ago for insider activity. He shouldn't have been anywhere near a regulated firm. But here he was, back in the game, managing funds for someone behind the curtain. That someone could only be Matt. Nicholas exited without a word, but his hands were shaking. He called Jade from a payphone 2 blocks away. "You were right," he said. "He's laundering through shells, but the structure's human. He's rebuilding something." Jade's voice was calm. "Then we break it before it grows teeth." That night, Nicholas got hit. Not metaphorically, literally. A delivery came in near Red Hook. Simple order, no ID required. A 3-block walk past a warehouse. He should have known. The darkness was too quiet, the street too empty. 2 figures stepped out from the alley, faces hidden. One swung a pipe. Pain exploded behind Nicholas's left ear. The world spun. His knees gave out. They didn't say anything, didn't rob him, just beat him, then walked away. He woke up hours later in a loading dock, soaked in blood and rain. His phone was gone, delivery bag slashed. His ribs screamed when he breathed. A passing sanitation worker called for help. Nicholas refused an ambulance. He limped to Jade's building in silence, clutching his side. She patched him up in the hallway, biting her lip the whole time. "They know we're moving," she said. Nicholas nodded. "Good. Means they're afraid." "You could have died." "I already did. That was just the sequel." Noah arrived an hour later, grim-faced. He slid a burner phone across the table. "You're off the grid now. I wiped your last login. No more apps. No more SwiftDrop." Nicholas stared at the new device. No ID, no SIM, just encrypted tools and offline storage. He was no longer a courier. He was something else now. In the days that followed, they prepared their strike. Jade cloned the wallet activity. Noah tracked physical movement near the suspected exchange. Nicholas pulled strings with 2 old contacts who owed him favors. One in private security, the other a disgraced tech contractor. They identified the server, an unregistered node operating on a closed-loop network inside a data center in Jersey City. It was supposedly abandoned. It wasn't. Jade built a payload, a silent trigger, non-destructive, not theft, just proof. A fingerprint left in the place Matt thought was untouchable. "Once this lands," she warned, "he'll know you're close." "That's the idea," Nicholas said. They waited for the signal. It came at 2:41 a.m. on a Tuesday. Matt's wallet pinged 3 times in rapid succession. Unusual behavior. Within minutes, 2 of his laundering accounts closed their positions. He was running. Nicholas smiled through the pain in his ribs. "Now we follow," he said. "Carefully," Noah added. Jade slid her laptop shut. "This isn't over, but he knows he's not alone anymore." Nicholas nodded. "He doesn't get to walk away clean." They sat in silence for a long time. The city outside didn't know a war had just begun. A quiet one, a digital one. No police, no courts. Just broken trust, lost fortunes, and the slow, surgical hunt for the truth. Nicholas had no money, no home, and nothing left to prove. But for the first time since the collapse, he had a purpose again. 3 weeks later, the final piece clicked into place. Matt was in the city. Jade tracked the activity through a dummy mobile node that pinged from a luxury condo tower in Tribeca, one of those glass and steel monoliths that offered residents everything from biometric security to drone landing pads. Nicholas had lived in that tower once, 2 floors below the one Matt now used as a hideout. The irony burned. "He's sloppy," Jade said. "He thinks his chain is untraceable now." That we flinched. "He's not wrong," Noah muttered, adjusting a bruised shoulder. "But we're still standing." Nicholas looked out the cracked window of their makeshift hideout. an abandoned apartment above a corner liquor store in Bushwick. He hadn't shaved in days. His knuckles were still swollen from training, his ribs still healing. "I want him to see me," Nicholas said. "Not as a threat, as a ghost." Jade blinked. "You sure?" He nodded. "He took everything. I want him to feel that I'm still breathing." That Friday, Nicholas stepped into the Tribeca Tower. Not as himself. He wore the Courier jacket again. One of the old ones, torn, stained, believable. A swift-drop delivery bag hung over his shoulder, packed with nothing but a laptop and a thermal container filled with frozen air. The doorman barely glanced up. "Delivery for Penthouse C," Nicholas said. "Name?" "Matt," he replied with a straight face. The doorman buzzed him through. The elevator glided up. Nicholas watched the floors tick by like the countdown of an execution. When the doors opened, he was met not by a concierge or assistant, but Matt himself, unshaven, smug. "I figured it would be you," Matt said, stepping aside. Nicholas walked in. The penthouse was pristine. White marble floors, chrome kitchen, massive screens on the walls. It smelled of money and arrogance. "You could have called," Matt said, walking toward a bar and pouring himself a drink. "But theatrics were always your thing." Nicholas didn't sit. "You really thought you'd get away with it?" "I have gotten away with it," Matt said, raising his glass. "You're the one in a rental jacket. I'm the one with 7 wallets and 2 passports. You don't seem worried." "I'm not. Because even if you expose me, who cares? No one's coming for me. You didn't go to the cops. You didn't sue. You tried to out-hustle a better hustler and lost. That's not a crime. That's just natural selection." Nicholas stared at him for a long time, then said, "I didn't come here to threaten you." Matt chuckled. "No?" "I came to let you know," Nicholas continued, "that your offshore ledger has been copied. Your cold wallets have been mapped, and your signature keys were used to open a phantom node 2 days ago. You're already compromised." Matt's smirk faded. "You're bluffing." Nicholas opened the thermal container and pulled out the old laptop. The screen lit up. One by one, it displayed the transaction chains, the mirrored logs, the overlapping wallet IDs. Then, a short clip of Matt's own voice, pulled from an audio confirmation security system at the exchange in Belize, his voice authorizing a transfer. Jade had found it. Noah had brokered access. "Holy," Matt muttered, stepping back. "This isn't for blackmail," Nicholas said. "I'm not here to reclaim what you stole." Matt looked up, wary. "Then why?" Nicholas stepped closer. "Because you'll never know when it drops. Maybe tomorrow. Maybe in a year. But someday someone will use this to burn you. A regulator, a hacker, a journalist, someone who smells the blood." Matt opened his mouth, but no words came out. Nicholas slung the bag back over his shoulder. "Enjoy your empire. It's leaking." He turned and walked out. That night, rain fell hard in Brooklyn. Nicholas, Jade, and Noah sat on the roof of the liquor store, passing a cheap bottle of whiskey between them. "You didn't take anything back," Noah said. "No," Nicholas said. "But I left him with something worse than debt." Jade smirked. "Uncertainty?" "Exactly." The city buzzed below them. Lights flickered in the haze. The subway rumbled like a distant war drum. Noah raised his bottle. "To ghosts." They clinked. For a long while they said nothing. Just listened to the city breathe. In the weeks that followed, Nicholas stayed in the shadows. He deleted all remaining accounts, cut the final threads of his past life. He worked under a new name now. Freelance courier by day, security consultant by night. For businesses who had no idea the man auditing them once played poker with their board members. He didn't want his old life back. He wanted clarity. One afternoon, delivering a package in Soho, he rang a familiar bell. Laura answered the door. She didn't recognize him at first. "Nicholas?" she said after a moment, her voice soft. He smiled gently. "Package for you." She stared, stunned. "I heard what happened." "It's all right," he said. "I'm not here to talk, just delivering." She looked at him, really looked. "You okay?" He nodded. "Better than I've been in a long time." He turned and walked away, the city opening up around him. He didn't look back. In a different city, weeks later, Matt received an anonymous envelope. Inside, a single USB drive and a note. Everything burns, eventually.